and as a dedicated cadre of NRM, I extend this final olive branch to you, Chris Bakashaba. I strongly advise you to accept this path, to avoid the severe personal and legal repercussions that will inevitably follow from this current unattainable situation. When a warning is ignored, shame becomes the teacher. Proverbs 13:18. When a warning is ignored, shame becomes the teacher. Proverbs 13:18. I trust that wisdom and respect for the will of the people will guide your decision. The stubborn goat breaks its neck on the rope. The stubborn goat breaks its neck on the rope. For God, before I say that, for God Almighty, Canon Bobs, the clergy, the Honorable Minister, I was brought up. The President always guides us obutagwera. Nobwakwa narwana n'omuntu yanda kurwana nawe. Takumureta enyuma akamustabinga. Namutera hibega ngo amurebe and they fight. I'm giving a notice. I heard the preaching of the speech of Father Kasapuri about a name, about keeping a name. Why I'm saying this? Aha. You are most welcome, my brother Chabwisho. Take a seat. What a privilege. What a privilege having my brother Benon and Chabwisho in my Thanksgiving. Stay Rumunga. Obutagwera, okugwera, ambushing someone because the Honorable Minister, the information I have, the information I have seen, and we live in brotherhood. That's why I give notice. Please, please, help yourself, help your family, help Mbarara City, help Uganda, help NRM. By the way, the Honorable Minister, who is a senior lawyer, I've been disagreeing with my lawyers. Tinyoebi, ngyo karebi intakora. Ibyo kutegeza kuzo mukoti, tindu kubukora. Yoni mugambira, kandi abigamba umbwatu butunu. Information nyine wajireba is dirty. And if I were him, narawabu, narababu, you wouldn't want to put it in public. You wouldn't. Because it's dirty. It's not clean. It's dirty. And I don't know why people make mistakes. No more politics says to them. Know that you are going to be naked. Someone will just make you naked. But sometimes because we are brought up, that's why we respect the church. Otherwise, we wouldn't be wasting our time, or government time, or party time. And when you're dealing with people, deal with others, not required. We keep quiet. We are soft, but like a chain. That's why you get some of these misled people in some small security positions. Don't, because it can cost you a job. Do your work professionally. Do your work professionally. Because some of us, we humble ourselves because we know this world is like a stage where every man and woman comes and plays their part and you leave. And someone else will be there tomorrow. Therefore, I gave this speech, my second speech, for the sake of my brother, Bakashaba Chris, his family, immediate family, and his extended family. And I've given him a notice. He must have been served today. EC was served the other day. If that information, if that information comes to the public, Canon Bobs, my hands are clean. May I now take this opportunity to invite my brother, Ladit, Honorable Mao, and congratulate you from winning as a member of parliament, elect. Otherwise, you know them better. Please.
The family of Mzee Maitland Rukaari, particularly the Hon.Robert Rukaari Mwesigwa, our main celebrant, and all the clergy from the various denominations, our mothers, fathers, brothers, and sisters. Dear friends, Honorable Robert Rukaari could have invited anybody to be the guest of honor. He knows enough people. So I'm immensely humbled that he chose me of all people to come and be the guest of honor. I think I will share with you why I think he made that choice. We are a big delegation. I came with my wife, Beatrice, who is right there. She's also fresh from the battle for becoming Lord Mayor of Kampala. She had two objectives: to become Lord Mayor. The second objective was to make sure that the current Lord Mayor does not come back. And she was not afraid to tell the people that you deserve better, and the people listened. They may not have made her the Lord Mayor, but at least she created a vacancy. She continues to be a voice in Kampala. I'm also here with my Mulamu, Patricia, and the husband, Robert. Patricia is a chief magistrate, and the husband is a prominent lawyer in Kampala. We also came with our friend, Sheba. Sheba Sogol was one of the founders of the Uganda Young Democrats, UYD, long ago in 1995. Then she went away to UK and joined the Conservative Party, and she's the vice president of the women's wing of the Conservative Party in the UK. So she has been campaigning for the likes of Boris Johnson and all these other prime ministers. So she came to support us in this current campaign. I'm a member of this family, so whether you call me minister, whether you call me MP elect, whether you call me Chairman Mao, I belong here. There is no function here that I don't attend all the time. Now, we are celebrating friendship. I always say that friends are relatives that you choose. You don't choose your brothers and sisters, but you choose your friends. As a matter of fact, you may have brothers and sisters that you would wish were born in another family. But friends, you choose. Robert and I have known each other since, I believe, 1988. That's how far back we go. We were very young when we met. I was close to his late mother, who we call Bishop, because she was so prayerful. And I keep telling Robert that some of the blessings you get are really not because of you, but because of the prayers of Mommy. She was very prayerful. She was always reading the Bible. For her, she believed that once you win the spiritual battle, the battle of the flesh is automatically won. So I think today Robert has launched the battle by, first of all, winning the spiritual battle. So we declare that those who you have declared war on are already spiritually defeated. So automatically now the battle of the flesh will be very simple, because the spiritual battle has already been won. I want to join you and your family in thanking God for your journey. I want to thank your family for standing with you. Fiona and the children, it's not easy being a wife of a politician. It's very, very difficult. It's extremely demanding. And for the children, it's even more taxing, because you see, we live in the era of social media. People say things about your father and you wonder why they are doing it. In my case, my life has been made easier because now my wife is also a politician. So we are both attacked. So now we compare notes every day. We do a tally of what attacks have been launched. So I count hers and I count mine also. And of course, I teach her how to fight back. Because for some of us, we can receive blows, but we can also deliver them. I want to thank Robert for being a steadfast cadre of the National Resistance Movement, which is our sister party. As you know, the Democratic Party and the NRM are now moving together. I used to joke that Robert was the DP candidate for Mbarara City North. DP is an old party. It was not formed to fight President Museveni. It was formed in 1954. Our objectives are very clear. So don't count us among the other kind of negative forces that you talk about. For us, we are a solid party. We are the second oldest party in Africa after Mandela's African National Congress. So no matter what you see now about the state of DP, you should know that its foundation is very solid. And even the president of Uganda was our member for 10 years. I don't think he was foolish to have joined the Democratic Party. Maybe he wanted to move faster, because I hear people saying DP is too patient. They say, the Baganda say that DP Ganyana, Ganyweva Muwangasi. So you start aspiring to drink milk from a baby, a calf. At Makerere, Robert was a friend to Noble Mayombe. Very close. He was also my very close friend, and yet we were on opposite sides. We don't have many secrets among ourselves, but there's one secret. Up to now, I don't know who Robert voted for. But I believe he voted for me. But he made sure Noble Mayombo also believed that he voted for him. I think that makes an excellent politician. If you can make two people believe different things that are contradictory. Nevertheless, in Makerere, he stood on principle. And that's where we all met, even with the late Speaker Jacob Olanya. The Arabs say that when a stranger appears at your door, feed him for 3 days before asking who he is, where he comes from, where he's headed. That way, he will have the strength to answer. Or by then, you'll be such good friends that you don't care. I think that has been the experience between Robert and I. I was a total stranger, but he was very supportive in every sense, materially, and also being a support. I was coming from northern Uganda where there was a war. During holidays, we could not go home. We had to stay on campus. And someone like Robert was there for me. These days, people are so concerned about people's religion, tribes. I was actually not bothered about where he came from, and I don't think he was bothered about where I came from. And we wish to encourage the younger generation of today to be of that type. Now you have somebody who is born in Gulu, goes to a nursery school in Gulu, goes to Gulu Primary, then goes to Gulu Senior, then studies in Gulu University, then works in Gulu District. The view is so narrow. They don't understand. The older generation are better. I can relate to someone like Mzee Karazarwe, former chair of Ntungamo, and even showed me where his house was in senior quarters in Gulu. The late General Ronda studied in Kitgum High. Amelia Chambade studied in Sacred Heart. I don't want to embarrass people here, but if I asked, is there any of you who studied in northern Uganda in any school? I have two brothers. Okay, fantastic. Where did you study? Alokolum Seminary, yeah. We thank the church for creating that bridge. I have two brothers who studied in Intare, at least. And even in intermarriage, nowadays people don't want to marry across cultures. There are some parents who resist that. As for me, my father found my mother from Ngarama in Isinjire. So I'm your neighbor in Bukanga, Ngarama. Robert believes in living a life of accepting others for who they are. Because of the journey we have had with Robert, even my wife knows that if there's someone who I really miss in my life always, it is Robert. When I'm talking about Robert, my wife says, "You are missing your friend." And we are always talking. People even wonder what we talk about, but we are always having something to talk about. So he came and hid here in Mbarara. He told me of how the primaries went. I'll later offer some tips to our friends in the NRM, because the party was not formed for NRM members. The party was formed for Uganda, unless you want to form your own country. But if really this party is to serve Uganda, then you should also listen to pieces of advice from people who love this country. Our personal friendship is so deep that we have become brothers. We meet for any reason and even for no reason. One time we were celebrating the day when Rene, his firstborn son, was given a license to start using a pen. He graduated from using a pencil to using a pen. Now that tells you the kind of reasons for which we celebrate. So there was a little certificate from Rene's school, and it was titled Pen License. Because of that kind of school. So we went and had a very good lunch in the name of Rene. Rene was absent, of course, but we celebrated it. Even in our personal lives, Robert and I believe in being real with our lives, and we love to be happy. We are not afraid to choose what we prefer. We both dropped out of our first marriages, but we enrolled again, and we are happy, both of us. So we are not permanent dropouts. I hope this encourages all of you who are so unhappy and you are pretending. You move with a wife you don't talk to at home, but you sit next to in church. Me and Robert, we believe in being real. In case I'm talking to you, think about it. That's it. We are so close that I remember when he went for his first marriage, the Kuhinjira, his father-in-law did not like people like Mao because of politics. You know, in my younger days, you didn't want to enter the political ring with me. You would get a knockout. Yes, you know the Mao of 1996, 97, 98, how many people we censored. So our then father-in-law told Robert, crossed my name, said, Mao cannot come to my home. And Robert said, then I'm also not coming. You can stay with your daughter. That is what you call principle. Not many men can disagree with their fathers-in-law. Because normally we men, when we are going to marry, we are basically beggars. You know, you beg. In Ankole here, you even bring poets to do that poetry. To Okwebuga, to beg in rap. So Robert overruled the veto. Eventually, it became a very lovely event. Now I'm even neighbors with that Muzee. And so sometime in life, you should ask yourself, what will I think about this issue 20 years from now, 30 years from now? Some of the things you think are very important today may actually have no meaning 10 years from today. So try to project how things will be. There was a time I felt so sick. Robert stood in the gap. I was flown by a military helicopter from Gulu to Entebbe. I was virtually lifeless with acute pneumonia. I could hardly breathe. Robert bought 2 business class tickets of Kenya Airways. He waited for me at Hotel Protea in Entebbe and even organized for a 5-course meal. Of course, I couldn't eat. So, Robert, can I have that meal? Now that I think I'm going to have it later. Then I was taken to Nairobi. Within a year, I went back to intensive care. And Robert stood in the gap. Now, let me tell you, I was so sick. The doctor said I had 20% of life left. So, I didn't know what Robert was plotting, but Robert was trying to charter an aeroplane to take me to India. And he wanted to steal me from the hospital. because the doctor said you can't take him anywhere. He has to stay here. But Robert was ready to hire a plane. If ever such a thing exists, is if there's a special hire of aeroplanes, a charter. Robert was determined to spend, because chartering a plane like to India, you may have to pay up to like $60,000. That is without treatment. That is just transport. But the doctors caught them. I think somebody betrayed them and said, these people are trying to steal the patient and take him out. I was not afraid, though I was a certified member of the opposition. I was not afraid to campaign for Robert when he wanted to lead the NRM Entrepreneurs League, because I knew he was qualified. Robert went into business very early, took all the risks. When we parted, we left Makerere. Robert said, Chairman Mao, me, I'm going into business. I want to make money. Me, I tried to be a civil servant. I started by failing the interview. I went for an interview to become a state attorney, and I was told I hadn't passed. My uncle, Justice Ralph Ochan, was on the panel. He later told me that the panel thought you are too rebellious, you were leading strikes in Makerere, you throw bad words at the government, you are not the kind of material that the public service should be having. So I was stranded. Robert, meanwhile, had formed several companies. He was investing. He was powering forward. But me, I decided to go to politics. I lost the first election, 1994. Then 96, I was able to win. And many times I would talk to others about Robert. In his campaign to become the chair of Entrepreneurs League, I used to hold meetings with NRM members in my compound. I would call the NRMs from West Nile, Acholi, Lango, and even Karamoja, and campaign for Robert. Even when I was campaigning for president, Robert would contribute money. But I know he used to give more to President Museveni. I think mine was a very small percent, just to keep me moving. I don't think he was praying for me to win. But he wanted to know me not to be embarrassed by, for instance, not having fuel and so on. Because he knew that my message should also be given to the people. All through our political life, he always encouraged me. He said, "Why you should work with Mzee." Now, I want to tell you why I didn't join President Museveni earlier. I wouldn't have made a good minister. I think I was too angry. Why was I angry? I was angry because of what was going on in the north. 1.7 million people were displaced. There was a war going on. And yet everybody who was talking was saying Uganda is peaceful. So I used to ask myself, which Uganda? Am I also in this country called Uganda or not? So I was really, really very unhappy with President Museveni. It was not personal problem. I have no personal hatred. But these were related to his policy of ending the war militarily, which we oppose. I think if you're opposing a government policy, you should declare it to the people and say, this is what I'm opposing. You don't just have either nugu or just the hatred, what they call obuchai. Robert was always telling me, I don't think you're understanding the president. You persist. So the president eventually changed his mind, and we had peace talks. And because of that, I'm happy to report to you that In the recent election, President Museveni got over 80% in Acholi for the first time ever. And I was campaigning vigorously for him. I went with my wife to the polling station and I ticked President Museveni for the first time in my life. And if anybody asks me why I ticked him because of positive reasons. There are those of you who take President Museveni because you say, without him, there will be war. Without him, there will be chaos. That's not my reason. My reasons are positive reasons. The negative reasons don't count too much. Just so you appreciate this 80% of 2026, let me tell you where he started from. 1996, President Museveni got 8.5% of the vote. 2001, 11.5%. 2006, 13.2%. 2011, 29.04%. That is the year I first stood for president. And he was number 2 after me. Besigye was number 3. 2016, 32.7%. That time I was supporting Amama Mbabazi. And Amama Mbabazi got the highest number of votes in Uganda from Gulu. We voted for him more than Kanungu people. 2021, 44.3%. I think it is in Acholi where President Museveni got the highest increase of votes from 44.3% to over 80%. In some places like Agago, he got like 90%. So, I appreciate the position Hon.Robert Rukaari has taken today. I know some of you are now scared, having heard this strong statement. You may even feel like you don't want to be on record that you were in this tent. Yeah, I know. Some of you must be shaking now. Now when this thing comes on Radio West and TV West, they'll say, hello, how are you? So you are now fighting the MP elect. Do you know who you are fighting? The bishop has preached in his message delivered to us that God is more powerful than anybody else. But now one phone call makes you want to go to the toilet immediately with a running stomach. This, what Robert has done, is in the true spirit of the people who went to the bush. They didn't go because they were strong. They went because they had a cause. Robert is not the most powerful in Mbarara. He's not the one with the most money in Mbarara. So the only question is, has he got a cause? I know a lot about this case, and I can confirm to you that there is a cause. This is the sense with which David approached the front line. Generals were hiding from Goliath. And when David appeared, the generals told him, you and your stick, go back and look after the sheep. What are you doing here? If generals are quaking, then you really, can you manage this battle? And David asked only one question. Is there a cause? The moment they said there is a cause. So you don't fight because you are strong. You fight because you have a cause. So my brother Robert, if you have a cause, as the Baganda say, fungiza. However, even if you are facing Tyson, if you have a cause, you have to say, okay, bring it on. I will not lie down voluntarily for you to walk on me. If I'm going to go down, you are the one to knock me down. And I intend to make it as difficult as possible for you. to knock me down. So we must understand this. All of you have testified about Robert's generosity. Robert gave me a cow when I was celebrating my 1 year in cabinet. I think he really felt touched because for me to accept to join the cabinet of President Museveni, it was a tough decision. But let me tell you, the day I entered State House for the first cabinet meeting, I said a little prayer at the gate of State House. I said, God, let me go and serve President Museveni faithfully with all my heart. Remove from my heart any bitterness I may have, any ill will I may have. I have accepted, let me go and serve, so that he may serve Ugandans better through me. You know that ministers work for the president. Whatever I do, that's the president's business. It is not my business, because in the constitution, the executive authority is given to one person, the president. The cabinet is not the executive. The executive is the president. The constitution says the executive power is vested in the president. Then he decides and he says, now you deal with the constitutional affairs. You deal with police. You deal with agriculture. He starts distributing. So he's like the dam which generates the power. So the rest of us are like these, these stations that distribute the power. That is what ministers are. So if you switch off the dam, the distribution station is useless. Robert was so happy, he donated to me a cow. Now, I understand the Banyankore always name the cows. So I also asked Robert, what name shall I call this cow? Then he gave a long name that no Acholi can manage. But me, I can manage because of my mother is from here. The cow has a very tough name. Chiremba cha mayenje genkungu rutaka mwamushema. So, Rutaka Mwamushema is there in Gulu. And I understand according to the culture, I'm supposed to give back. So she has been giving birth to babies, and I promise to account faithfully. I will not hide the accounts. So she has given birth to offsprings that we are also going to name again. But let me tell you why we named her Rutaka Mwamushema. We say that Uganda is a very difficult country. It's like a cow that cannot be milked by a fool. It can kick you. Now, President Museveni has been managing this country for now 40 years. And many of us have decided to study him rather than fight him. Because if someone can run something for 40 years, why don't you learn from him? It is only common sense. If you know that Joshua Cheptegei is the best marathon runner, and I want to be a good marathon runner, I must go and see where does he train, what time does he wake up, what does he eat, rather than insulting him on TikTok. Because insulting Cheptegei on TikTok will never make me a champion. I think I rather understand what he does. So today, we have prayed for Robert. All those who wish you bad things must be very annoyed today. You know, after campaigns, people are broke. Now, people wonder, this man is just fresh from campaign, but he has called all of us. He's going to give us good food. We are going to celebrate. What is Robert made of? Thank you for doing this. Because there's nothing better than annoying your enemies by doing good things, what they don't expect. I'm sure we all prayed that Robert should win. But he didn't win. Okay, he didn't win in quotes because there are many things that happened. But for the record, let's say he wasn't declared the MP elect. According to the election officials, he lost the election. So why are we giving thanks? He gave the answer himself. He said, life is not just about politics. There are other things for which you have to be grateful. And I believe that's why we are here. There's a friend of mine who is a bishop. He was a reverend when we spoke about what I'm going to share with you. Bishop Onesmus Asimwe. One day he came to pray at the vigil for the late Olanya. And I said, he was then Reverend. I said, Reverend Asimwe, surely why would God do this? We prayed that the man should not die. Still he died. Now you tell me. And I'm sharing his answer so that we can put what Robert went through into context. Bishop Onesmus Asimwe said, God answers prayers in 4 ways. 1, after you have prayed, God will say, no, Nayanga. You are not going to get what you have asked for. 2, yes, I'm giving you what you have asked for. Then 3, why are you so limited? Here is something better. God can give you something better than what you have asked for. Then the 4th one, God can first of all say, just wait and see what I'm going to do. I don't know which one Robert is going to get. You didn't get the yes. But I think you are going to get the 4th one. So God today is telling Robert, you are joking, Robert. Just wait and see what I'm going to do for you. In other words, he's just demanding that you should be faithful. Just wait. And it happened in my life. Remember, I failed the interview to be a state attorney, which is the lowest professional level in the Ministry of Justice. Then I end up being the head of the ministry as Minister of Justice. Can you see that God can really crack jokes? Me who could not qualify to be a state attorney, now I'm there at the top of the ministry. You have prayed that Robert should be elevated. And so, let us all join Robert in waiting to see what he's going to do. So all of us, when we meet people, friends, enemies of Robert, we say, we are still waiting. God is going to do something which you still can't even imagine. But let's wait. He's going to do it. I've seen it in my own life. So in the meantime, what should Robert be doing? Continue being a voice for the people of Mbarara. People of Mbarara need your voice. I heard the tough talk of the mayor. That is okay. What matters most is that Mbarara should be a shining example in our country. My second piece of advice is now to our friends in the NRM. And particularly to this, let me say, Ankole. In Ankole, there's a complacency because President Museveni is there. So people think that anybody can go to parliament, anybody can be elected. After all, President Museveni is there. So in some ways you have reduced your standard so low because, it is sort of like if you have a football team which has Messi, then you say Messi is there, he will score for Argentina. So now anybody can join the team because Messi is there. But what if one day Messi is not there? Here in Ankole, there are very few leaders who are given a second term. Even some of the very good ones, you serve one term, they remove you. You serve one term, they remove you. But you must nurture strong national leaders for the future. For us in Acholi, we know our situation. So when we get a good leader, we really protect them like a candle in the wind. If you make sure the candle does not go off. That's why even me, after 20 years, the people can say, you are still useful. We are sending you back to parliament. That culture doesn't exist here. And I'm honestly calling for a culture of nurturing leaders who can lead for a sustained period. Because you need giants. The Baganda say, omuti ogumu newe guba munene gutya tebaguyita kibira. One tree, however big, cannot be a forest. President Museveni is not a forest. You need many trees. And real trees. But now some of the leaders I see are shrubs. They are like papyrus. Robert is a solid tree. He needed to be nurtured. So that when he goes to parliament, he can interact with other giants. Because other parts of Uganda are building their leaders. Here, everybody is going to sleep. Kasita Museveni jali. I thought I should be very honest about this for you, the elders, to think about it. For the young people who sell their votes, perhaps this doesn't matter. Let me conclude. This is now for Robert. I could feel the pain with which you spoke. Disruptiveness by security. Rigging. People who should be honest with you, lying to you. Being misunderstood as an enemy of a party that you have helped to build. Being projected as someone opposing a president you have supported consistently, and to whom you are even related to, for those who don't know. I hope these words from Mother Teresa can give you a perspective so that you cleanse your heart from being angry at those who behaved badly. This is what Mother Teresa said. People are often unreasonable, irrational, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some unfaithful friends and some genuine enemies. Succeed anyway. If you are honest and sincere, people may deceive you. Be honest and sincere anyway. What you spend years creating, others could destroy overnight. Create anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, some may be jealous. Be happy anyway, like you are today. The good you do today will often be forgotten. Do good anyway. Give the best you have, and it will never be enough. Give your best anyway. In the final analysis, it's between you and God. It was never between you and them anyway. I thank you very much for listening to me. May God bless you. May God bless Mbarara City. May God bless Uganda, our motherland. Thank you. That is the famous Chiremba cha Mayenje Genkungu, Rutakamwa Mushema. We call her Her Majesty. I will be happy to invite Robert's friends on behalf of myself and my wife so that you come and visit her. She's a tourist attraction. The farm now looks much better than that, thanks to my wife. You people are only seeing the bush. There's now a lot of improvement there. God bless you all.
Thank you, Honorable. Bantum Perunga Zaman is a Honorable Minister. Echamuheru, Chirembacha Artaka Mamshema, Wenoriaha, Kasawajireva. Kandi bajango jini Uganda teka Mamshema, waji kama kuvene kutera omujeri. Twakwakira omuhereza warhanga kandi omuntu mukuru omukomo kana Newton baryeija imuka abantu bakwakire omuringo omutano guno omuntu otaho omukomo buzima n'abandi omushobozi mukuru omwebesa ryaha imuka twakire mutusasi kwakira abantu w'ekitinisa road mayor waitu wa north omwami ona bicabwisha ryaha Robert yakugambireho at how I wish I gave my speech when he's around. How can we yanayikiriza omu kintu kya reconciliation kandi n'okugamba how okwiyabe na mbwenu omutima gwe ahari iwe kandi okwiyabe nakunda. Ekindi ekya kabiri twenda kwakira abandi bantu bakuru abatahamu konka habw'eshaaha tuja kukibaasa twantushaba Honorable Minister Robert na family twantubashaba muteze ekishushani na clutches abari aha haza twantushaba background yemereraho mu bantu aba cameras. You can have mtungi ekishushani kya group maybe around here with some few clutches, and then after that twinho comedians tukine entertainment kunga twantwenda kutwaraho abantu bakye kubaasa kuza the other side okugira akafunguro kakya kutwabahereza abatahamu bate nikyo batungi especially kanisa hamwe na mesa. So you can choose hona ab'ebishushani muja kutugambira konka twantwenda background yakubaasa kuba neyakira nekwata n'abantu atazo mu background, whichever side we choose to be happy. Abantu abatahamu bwanyuma twabashemerwa muzima mutusasire twine bwire bukunorecognize buri muntu twenda kubasiima okutworobera n'okutugumiserereza. Bantu mu RC nawe tumwinaha yatahamu reka tumwakire omuringo gw'omutaano RC twa North reka tumwakire akwakira Jackie nawe bari munonga kwija. I was so grateful. So abantu beija let maybe abibyoma mutoreki where we wanted the background y'abantu konka mutoreki kwa ekishani kikwasa kwija. Please make a faster decision because time is not on our side. So bajang twemerera aha konka part of church is going to come and join. Twasa kutera nk'ebishani bishatu mukore decision very fast. Katubanze ekishani kya family na Honorable Minister Robert Mau. Katubanze kya family ya Robert, ekishani kya family ya Robert, if you can join, and then plus then after that tewicha abanyadin religious leaders, then a few councillors, a few top leaders abariyaha. Haza twantugamba ba top leaders by the owner Richard Akisimbire nawe is one of the top leader. Ekindi ow'ekitinisa batsimbira twakwakira abantu maye abantu bemerera abantu babeebu na James Mayanja nawe twamureba aha very top person n'abantu bemba supporting Robert. So ababishane mutebekanise abantu abo mu making sure mwabagambira ko bayemerera otakatungire karenda erya muryango aho turi tugihereza of course kandi abandi aba different kawagira ngo buri muntu nateze na Honorable Kishane tuja kutwara obwire bwinjaha kandi mureba time is not on our side. Then after those ebishane bikuturaiza kutunga okushaba ekigambo cyo kushaba koze nyo mukoro ogu abagarukayo bagarukayo then we get a few ashaza baitu kumwa kubasa kupingamo abantu bake abatatunga funguro kine cyayi y'abagenyi bonka tubetebekanise prayer breakfast mbwenu mutusasire prayer breakfast okugira ngu yasire eshaaha ezi konka tukine just akantu kakye tukine chai nabwekyo kantusema ruhanga habwebyo habwa those people okubasa abantu church leaders abaza omu kishana omwo baza kasapuri Bishop Cyrus Tayebwa aza omu kishana sharia hariho Pastor Andrew Mukuru tubareba Canon Bobzi aho nakarogo nawe yataha muka mukuru w'ekanisa nawe noshana enyomi omu kanisa yabo yakogoshe church of Uganda so twasiima munonga Dr. Mkundane kana Newton baryeija mwamutenyema munonga tinguma ekishani kyamureba konga kandi yasheme kuba naza aha mwanjo kare. So if that is over, is done, the family is going to usher them into Babatwara Muj. Abantu abargahare mkamasimu nimwebare munonga tutukasima tukahezayo konkani mwebare mutusasire okukyererwa konkani mwebare munonga okwija kwanyu kwatushemeza mwebare. Bantu mutukine comedians konka kandi abantu imwe abanyambara bashaka komedi tumukugimanya konka abaragumeho nibyo ebyo konka abandi abariyo nibayimuka twabasima oruhanga buzima.